Hey guys, this video is going to be on how to weigh meat products prior to cooking and then after cooking, why it's important to do this, and what it has to do with a nutrition label. So I have some pre-cut up chicken that I've got to put in a skillet and fry. I am going to weigh this chicken out on my scale. So the first thing that I do is put the bowl on the scale and then turn it on because we don't want the scale to add the bowl in, okay? So I'm going to easily pour my chicken in. And with everything in there, it's 557 grams. And I'm going to write that number down and tell you why in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and cook this meat. And all right. So as soon as you are done cooking your meat, it is super, super, super important to let it cool. Because if you were to weigh this meat now, your results would be inaccurate due to the fact that the steam rising off of it adds weight to the meat. So you have to let it completely cool before you reweigh it. We're going to do that and we'll come back, we'll reweigh it and see what the difference is between when we first weighed it raw and then once we weighed it cooked. Now that our chicken has completely cooled, we are going to weigh it cooked. So we put our bowl back on the measuring scale and we're going to turn it on so it doesn't weigh the bowl. It actually zeroes it out. And if you accidentally do put a bowl on here and it gives you an amount, always use your tare button and that will clear it out back to zero. So we're going to go ahead and slowly put the chicken back into the bowl and weigh it. And if we notice, this amount is a lot less than what it was earlier. So it's 402 grams cooked, right? So I'm going to show you a formula of how to serve yourself the correct amount of food when it comes to the back of a label. So let's look at this label. This is a Korean barbecue style chicken that you can get at Costco. It literally only has 5 carbs per serving and it tastes amazing. But what we're really going to look at right now on here is the serving size is 140 grams. All right. This is raw meat. So if you were going to just serve yourself a portion, you would put on that scale prior to cooking 140 grams of raw meat. When you measure that out and cook that in a pan, that's going to give you 4 grams of fat, 5 grams of carbs, and 23 grams of protein. Okay? Now, here's the question. It tells you this whole box is 6.5 servings, about 6.5 servings. So how do we know? So in order to find out how much to serve yourself once it's cooked, we have to do a formula. So that's why I'm doing this video, so I can post it on. You guys can rewatch it because it took me a couple of times to learn this. The types of foods that you're going to use with this formula would be any kind of meat that would change their outcome desired, or any kind of quinoa, oatmeal, rice that would change prior to cooking and then after cooking, right? Because those things get bigger as meat gets smaller. So earlier when we first weighed our meat, we came out with 557 grams of raw chicken. That is what the scale said. So I cooked it, I let it cool, and I reweighed it at 402 grams. This is the whole box. This is everything that came in this container. And this does come with sauce. But I don't want to put the sauce on it yet until I know my calculation of my chicken, because the sauce will cause it to weigh more, right? So we want to wait and put the sauce on last. So what we do is we take the cooked, which is 402 grams, and we are going to divide it into the raw, which is 557 grams, which is going to give us a proportion of 0.72, 1723, 5188, 509874. And do this on your calculator with me, or a calculator, so you know what I'm doing. So this is going to come up on your calculator. Then you're going to take this amount and times it by the serving amount. Now, where did I get this 140 grams? Well, if we go back to the nutrition facts, one serving of this food is 140 grams. I have multiple servings in this container, so I need to find out what the 140 grams is, right? So I take this number here, times it by 140 grams. So we're going to do that now. And that gives me a total of 101.04. So this is a really small number. You guys know how to round numbers. So we're going to serve ourselves 101 grams of this meat on here to give us a portion of 140 grams. I know, it's confusing. But if I were to take my meat and if I were to not weigh it prior to cooking and I cooked it and then I served myself 140 grams, I would actually be overeating, because look, I'm at 101. So I would actually be serving myself 39 more grams than what I should, if that makes sense. Again, please rewatch this video a couple of times and reach out with any questions. So just to make it click, so what we're going to do is actually weigh 101 grams into the container. So I'm just going to start throwing chicken in here until I get to that point. Now it's like a smidge, and I literally will pinch things off till I get there. All right. So I just weighed out 101 grams of this chicken. All right. So that is one portion of this chicken. And then I'm going to keep doing that until I run out of chicken. And that'll give me all of these servings that are in this container, which you should have around 6.5. That's why it says about. Because once your food is cooked, or depending on how long you cook it, it could weigh less, it could weigh more. So that's why they put the word about on the back of a label. So just to reiterate everything we've learned today, when you are cooking meat or you are cooking something that will change the consistency once it is cooked, you are going to weigh it raw, cook it, then let it cool. Even rice, quinoa, oatmeal, you're going to let it cool 100%. Because what happens is when you put something that is hot on here, steam rises, which is water, it's vapor. So the water actually adds weight to this amount. So if you do it hot, your number is not going to be accurate. So that's why it has to be cooled down. So once it's cooled, we're going to put all the meat back into a container on here and get the other amount, the other portion, right? So when it was raw, it was 557 grams. Once I let it cooled and cooked and cooled, it came out to 402 grams. Dividing the 402 into the 557 gave me this number on my calculator. And all I did was times this number by 140 grams, because that is one serving size on this container. And that ended up giving me 101.04 serving myself in grams. So once it's cooked, the 101 grams served is equivalent to this 140. And we know it's equivalent because we factored in the 140. All right. So again, if you were to have cooked this meat and did not weigh it prior to cooking, and then you weighed it out after, you would be serving yourself 39 grams more than what your actual serving size is, because the weight reduces once it's cooked. All right, so this is my portion of meat. I hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions, take a screenshot of this formula. It is very, very important. And we will do this. We'll put cooked divided by raw equals proportion amount. Then you take proportion times 140 grams, or actually times, let me take that off, because they're all going to be different. Like if you were to get chicken, it's 112 grams, and I think beef is 112, 113 grams. So times the serving size on nutrition label equals the amount you serve yourself. All right. So I'm hoping that you learned something in this video. This is very hard to communicate through texting or explaining to someone, so I wanted to show it to you. If you would like me to create this video with rice or quinoa or oatmeal, let me know and I can show you the difference, because when you do a product like that it actually changes up in weight fluctuation, your cooked is going to be bigger than your raw. So this bottom number is going to be bigger than this top number. So it's going to be completely different. All right. So just remember that. And I can do that. Just let me know. I hope you guys have learned something today. I'm very glad that you're part of this boot camp. Again, this is about learning and processing, and it's okay if you messed up. You know, some of us have, and that's all right, but I want to show you how to do a serving size. But I love you all. I hope you learned something from this. Go Team Boss.